Forever never. Or never. And give it one more minute. I got it. But you know what I have? Yes. All right, you ready to rock and roll? A little bit? All right, awesome. All right, good to go, Jesse? All right. Oh, what?
No, I switched them. I thought they were switched.
Oh, I saw. I was confused. Okay. No. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town Board of the Town of Ossining special meeting and work session for Tuesday, October 18th, 2022. Please rise and join me for the and pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Feldman, present. Councilmember Minichia,
here.
Councilmember Meyer,
Present.
Councilmember Fields Wheel, present. Supervisor Levenberg.
Okay, I'm going to start off with a few announcements. I'm so excited to share that the town and village of Ossining have once again been recognized as car-free day stars in the Hudson Valley by 511 New York Rideshare HV. We had 41 pledges of people that were going to go car-free or car light during car-free week. And that was the highest for any municipality in the Hudson Valley. We continue to work together with our partners to find alternative means of transportation in lieu of single passenger fossil fuel vehicles for commuting. As we have mentioned, and we will continue to do, notices are in the mail now or already received regarding the new Westchester Power electricity supply contract. This new contract will help us lower our carbon footprint with 100% green electricity supply and guaranteed steady rates, which we know is so critical during this current volatile energy market. Learn more about the new contract by visiting www.sustainablewestchester.org/WP. Please get the facts so you can make an educated decision about whether to stay in the program or opt out when the new contract goes into effect on November 1st. Cold and flu season is upon us. Make sure to get your flu shot to be protected against the flu this season, in addition to the new COVID-19 booster, which protects against the original strain and Omicron strain of the virus. COVID vaccines are offered at OVAC on Fridays. Walk-ins are welcome, but appointments are encouraged and preferred. Make your appointments at OssiningVac, that's VAC.org. OVAC is not yet offering flu vaccines, but flu vaccines are readily available at most pharmacies and healthcare providers. I'm happy to report I received mine through Radish Health, our concierge health provider, last week when we aimed to get our entire health staff vaccinated. Mark your calendars now for Thursday, November 3rd at 6 p.m. at the Ossining Community Center, 95 Broadway, for the Ossining Shoreline Revitalization Community Meeting to share feedback on the draft shoreline improvements that have come out of the Climate Adaptive Design Studio #2. We look forward to hearing your input on how we can improve the waterfront to reflect your values and priorities. An interpreter and translated materials will be available for Spanish speakers. Learn more about this project and its importance at greenossining.org. Thank you, Ossining, for hosting. greenossining.org/shoreline-resilience. Speaking of environmental protection, Westchester County government recently released an excellent video reminding everyone to flip over their ballots when they go to vote next month. The flip side of the ballot contains a question about whether or not to pass New York's Clean Water, Clean Air, and Green Jobs Environmental Bond Act. If yes wins, the $4.2 billion Bond Act will fund restoration and flood risk reduction, climate change mitigation, open space land conservation, recreation and water quality improvement, and resilient infrastructure. We have linked to this informational video on our town website. Be sure to check it out as you consider your options for November, and actually early voting starts October 29th. You can vote early any place in Westchester County if you're a Westchester County resident during early voting from October 29th through November 6th. There's no voting on November 7th, and then election day is November 8th, at which point you can just vote at your regular polling place. A couple of dates to remember for access to county services. This Saturday, October 22nd, the Westchester County Mobile Shredder will be back in town at the Briarcliff Department of Public Works at 10 Buckout Road in Briarcliff from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Residents can bring up to 4 file-sized boxes of confidential paper from the household. Remember to remove all large binder clips and covers. Papers from businesses are not allowed, and remember to just include truly personal documents. No junk mail does not count. The Westchester County Clerk's Office will be bringing its community outreach community outreach mobile office to the Joseph G. Caputo Community Center on Wednesday, October 26th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And that's 95 Broadway, the very same place that we just discussed early voting would be. Apply for a passport, access notary services, and more. Make your plans now to access the service so that you're ready the necessary paperwork on the 26th. We'll send a separate e-blast with more details this weekend so you can prepare. Now, a round of Halloween fun around Ossining this week. This Friday, October 21st from 6 to 9 p.m., head over to Nelson Park for a pumpkin patch co-hosted by the Ossining Rec Department and Ossining Police Department. Pick a pumpkin, enjoy a donut and cider, and of course, join the hayride. Costumes are optional, but I mean, come on. This is the season. Reservations are required. Visit villageofossining.org to register. Saturday Explore and Learn is back at AMD Middle School this Saturday, October 22nd from 9:30 to 11 a.m. with a fall festival theme. Connect and learn with various community partners and enjoy a free breakfast. If you missed Friday's pumpkin patch, make sure to head to AMD during Saturday Explore and Learn to catch the hayride to another pumpkin. And don't forget, O Prime is holding a Halloween costume collection now through October 21st. They're collecting donations of new or gently used Halloween costumes for distribution by O Prime at Saturday's Explore and Learn. Drop your donations off at the Ossining Police Department, Ossining District offices at 400 Executive Boulevard, or Ossining Public Library. Help if you can to make sure every child in Ossining gets an opportunity to have a fun-filled Halloween. And these events are just the start of Halloween fun happening this year in Ossining. Check out my supervisor's update. Yes, that's true. There's even more if you want to start planning your Halloween weekend activities a bit early. This weekend, Saturday, October 22nd and 23rd, is the Westchester, Saturday, October 22nd, and Sunday, October 23rd, is the Westchester Craft Crawl from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. featuring 50 plus regional professional craft artists at locations in Ossining and Clinton. Learn more at westchestercraftcrawl.com and make your shopping plan for the weekend. I can guarantee that you'll spend a lot of money. Well, because they are fantastic crafts. This Sunday, October 23rd, join our Common Beliefs for a virtual book conversation on We Refuse to Be Enemies, How Muslims and Jews Can Make Peace, One Friendship at a Time, with the authors Sabina Raymond and Walter Ruby. Discussion starts at 3 p.m. Register at ourcommonbeliefs.com. Shout out to our friend Ola Nasir. My name is Savannah. Also on Sunday, October 23rd at 7 p.m., local favorite Norm Dodge will be performing in the chapel at Scarborough Church, fundraising for Open Arms for Refugees and the Emergency Shelter Partnership here in Ossining, which travels around all of the Briarcliff and Ossining houses of worship throughout the winter. Join to support two very worthy causes in our community and enjoy a wonderful performance. That's it for my announcements. Getting the announcements. Okay, so with that, we are going to go to our first board resolution.
consulting agreement. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austining authorizes the supervisor to sign a consulting agreement with Fernando Gonzalez, IAO.
So we have this one resolution on our special meeting for tonight to approve a consulting agreement with our recently retired Fernando Gonzalez. Fernando retired at end of September, but has agreed to do some consulting work for the town as we transition to a new assessor. We're happy to be keeping Fernando and his wealth of knowledge on board for the town for a little while longer. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
There's no motion.
Oh, sorry.
Motion.
Second.
All right, let's try again.
Aye.
Motion and a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn to work session?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so work session agenda. We have first our very own Honorable Holly Hurlowitz with her departmental report from the tax receiver. I just finished tax collection season for first tax for taxes and collecting on tax mark on behalf of the Austining School District.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I've asked document to be put up.
Okay, here we go.
There it is. And there it is. So the first thing I'm going to address is we did have a collection through the month of September, which was the first half of 2022-2023 school taxes. And great news, we're at 95.9% of the first half has already been collected. And remember that we've also, we have payments coming in that are, believe it or not, still not so many anymore, but still postmarked as of September 30th. So we're still, collections are still coming in. Delinquency notices are going to go out by the end of the week. I also wanted to note that 4.2% of the second half has been collected. And again, people tend to come in sometime between, you know, October through the end of the year before the actual due date, which is January 31st, 2022. Again, I'd like to just report that it was very smooth. I think that taxpayers felt taken care of down here on the first floor. Thanks again to the clerk's office for their hospitality. We have a little, we call it the satellite office, where we're collecting. And, you know, I think, well, people miss coming up to the third floor and people ask about coming up again. They're delighted that we're there and our faces are there. They miss the chocolate. COVID can do that. Anyway, 2022 town and county taxes, which were due in April. I just wanted to have you note on the document that we're 99% of the warrant has been collected. So again, pretty, you know, very, very, very good stats on that. So overall, takeaways are our collections on both of the active warrants are in really good shape and very pleased with them. Our next collection will be in January. We have to sort of share the satellite office with our village colleagues because, as you know, the first half of village, those people who live in the village of Austining, the first half of village taxes are due by January 31st. Second half of school is due January 31st as well. But I think we have a really good rhythm between the two areas collecting. When it comes to school first, I ask them if they also live in the village, or I can tell actually, and we sort of transfer taxpayers back and forth to make sure people forget. You know, people just forget. My email alert system just gets bigger and bigger. I think I'm over 3,000 people at this point. So it's very helpful. I mean, it's the best antidote to people coming in and believe that they have a penalty to pay. I immediately sign them up for the alerts, and I think they work really, really, really well. I also wanted to note that I have a personal goal, which is every month that we get collections on our delinquent tax liens. and we have never missed a month of not having some collections come in. We, for lack of a better term, work the accounts receivable that some of our bigger commercial taxpayers like Redline Apartments and Paradise Oil appear to be calling. I can just tell by the kinds of calls that I'm getting that they're working towards solutions. So I'm happy about that. I also want to report that the 8 payment plans that we have that have been approved by the town board are all current, and I know you as well as myself feel very good about this working. So that's about it, unless you have any questions, and happy to answer anything that you might have to ask or want some clarification on.
Any questions?
Yeah. Holly, I just was wondering on the 2022 delinquent tax liens, is that, and then I'm looking at the top 2022 town and county, that's outstanding. The discrepancy there, is that 2022, is that what's owed? $1 million?
The 2022, those are tax liens, which would be 2021 taxes. So what happens is that anything that's owed at the end of the in July, in other words, in July of 2023, any of the 2022 taxes that are owed become a 2023 tax.
Thank you.
And those, I mean, we started out with that, I think about 100, well, but I think they're about 130, so it's coming down. Anything else?
Any questions?
Thank you. It's
Thank you so
good
much.
to see you all in person.
We're always so appreciative of your very wonderful way of doing something that makes people very unhappy. Well, some people like to pay their taxes, I suppose. But you know, you make people feel good about it. We appreciate it, and we appreciate all the great customer service that they get, and that's what it's all about.
Thank you. Absolutely my pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much, Alan. All right. Up next, we're talking about local law regarding e-bikes, and I believe have the agenda here that we had tabled this discussion for a few weeks while we sought some additional information from the Village of Austin consultants regarding the distinctions between regulations under local law versus state law. I'm going to turn it over to our town council, Christy Tondana, to lead our discussion.
Yes, so we had a lengthy work session about this, I believe, in August. Just to back up, and this law came from the village, and I guess part of New York Forward. Is that's a different. There's some
project. I think it's called Project Mover. Is there the project that they applied for?
Okay, so there's a grant that the village is looking for, and so this kind of presented itself to the town after the village had adopted it. And so we kind of are working off of, like we did with the special event policy, we're working off of what the village started with. And so the town board had a lengthy discussion about this at a work session in August, and I did circulate a revised draft incorporating those edits. Part of what we were looking out for from the village's planning consultants was an understanding about what exactly needed to be in this law in order for it to be conducive to the grant. And we spoke with Drusilla Van Hengel at Nelson Nygaard, who was very helpful, and she spoke with me and Victoria a few weeks ago. And I think the big parts of this that we need to see incorporated are allowing e-bikes and e-scooters in certain locations, as well as the shared program of allowing them to be having shared programs within the unincorporated town limits. So that is incorporated into the law. What I tried to do is incorporate the town board's comments to the extent that they were consistent with state law. one of the things that I learned from going through the law after the last work session and from talking to Drew is that the village had opted to include certain provisions of state law in the local law. And so the intent there was to, I guess, create more knowledge and accessibility of information because, you know, it's kind of hard for the lay person to go searching through the vehicle and traffic law. It's pretty dense. There's a lot there. So by putting some of those provisions in the code, it makes it more accessible so people know what the rules are. But that also means that the town doesn't really have the authority to alter some of them. And I know Councilmember Fields-Sweel has raised this issue regarding the age limits. And that's something that's governed by state law. So it's not really something that we have the authority to control. So it's, I did try to incorporate everything that the board had requested or commented on at the last time around. And to the extent of being consistent with state law. I guess the question is, does the board want to go forward with having sort of this hybrid concept of provisions of state law as well as provisions of local regulation? Or would you rather just have laws that are within your control? Because it does get to be a little bit confusing, especially from a legislative standpoint as to what you can actually legislate.
I mean, I guess, is there a way in our online proof book that there's an automatic link? So if somebody's looking up the law online and you reference, you can put out those references to state law right embedded in to the local law, like you're referring to it. You're not.
I've never seen that in e-codes. But that's usually what it jumps to when you're looking at the town code. The town could certainly put those provisions on your website to make it more accessible. But generally, when you look up the town of Austining code, you're doing it through e-codes.
Right.
And I've never seen where there's something hyperlinked to state law. You can certainly reference it, and I did include references because in some situations I thought it was just too confusing, or there had to be a cross-reference so that someone knew what the requirements were. For instance, a requirement for helmet is a very lengthy detailed description, and so we cross-reference that. So there can certainly be references and someone can just copy and paste that and put it into Google and, you know, it should pop up. But I don't know if there's the accessibility. I mean, it would be great if there was, and we've certainly done it in the past where we've cited provisions of state law, especially with a lot of the tax exemptions, you know, like we'll be talking about, where we talked about with the senior tax exemption and what we did earlier in the year with the veterans tax exemption. That's all governed by state law. But generally what we do is we just extrapolate what's in the state law into what we're able to control. Here it's kind of a hybrid where in some instances it's the town making policy, and in other instances we're just kind of regurgitating what state law already says.
Is there a problem with this having?
As long as it's accurate, no. You know, we just have to be careful to use.
So if the state changes the law a couple of years down the road and ours still says this, it's a problem.
Yes, but that happens in a lot of situations, right? So for instance, the example I was giving earlier about the tax exemptions. So we have to stay up to date on what the state is allowing, otherwise we can become outdated. And a lot of what we do, a lot of what's legislated does come from authority from the state. So it's something that we would have to keep an eye on, certainly. But like I said, I think the intent and the goal was to have the information be more accessible. If there's other mechanisms to do that, like if there, you know, now that the town has this nice fancy new website, if we wanted to put, like, have a link that says, you know, here are the state rules regarding e-bikes and scooters, that's something we could look into as well. But it seems like for the purposes of this law, as far as it relates to the village and the grant, the main goal is to authorize the shared system. And then also what's specifically dictated under state law that's under local control is time, place, and manner restrictions as to where these types of vehicles can be used, on what roads, and the board previously determined that they would be allowed on any roads that are paved roads where vehicles can be, basically.
I guess I would be more inclined to recommend that we just stick our work on and just reference state law, just because of like the fact that as the state law changes, the reference will still be good. In other words, it will be updated in state law, whereas it wouldn't be able to be. I mean, we wouldn't necessarily have to update ours to still be in compliance.
And it can say in the law as amended, so it would automatically incorporate.
Right.
And so it would give that reference to the public for anyone that's looking at the code, but without actually specifying information that may at some point, like you said, become.
I don't think it precludes us from sharing that out in public information, however,
sure.
If
you can include a link on the list.
Right, exactly. I mean,
in addition to.
Yeah, to here's the or whatever, we could also just have some kind of additional information that would go along with any insured type program you might have in the future. So that you know what applies.
Yeah, I was just gonna say maybe we just like an FAQ.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
I think also both the village and the town boards should make sure that we communicate this to the Austin School District for them to distribute, because as I mentioned before, there are students that use these vehicles to get to school, whether to AMD or OHS, and so I think the parents need to know that this is going,
under a certain age.
Right, it's not allowed on the street.
Yeah, I think that both boards need to communicate it to the school district.
So were there any particular comments besides I think about the age restriction that anybody had from the last draft that was shared around?
Well, I'll have, based upon these comments, I'll have to go back and do another revision.
Okay.
A public hearing was noticed for next week, so I anticipate the board would likely carry that over. I'll have a revised draft for you in advance of that, but just to give the public an opportunity. I mean, really, I don't think substantively anything is going to change other than the fact that certain things that are in there will be removed and just replaced with cross references to state law. So there won't be, I don't anticipate any additions, but it will be different. So based upon our discussions, I don't think there's any urgency to this. So my recommendation would be reopen the public hearing. It has been renoticed, and then we'll carry that over until the next legislative session, and then we'll hear what the public has to say, and then perhaps the board could be in a position to take action.
Ready to go with that? Yep. All right. So next up, it is time for us to go out to bid once again for residential refuse collection. We have configured an RFP that is fairly similar to the 2017 version, except that we removed the bid option for food scraps collection, as the town currently participates in the Westchester County intermunicipal agreement for food scrap collection. The county also suggested that if the town does decide to move forward with curbside food scrap collection, it would be better to do that as a separate bid, because there may be some similar haulers with composting facilities on site who would bid on that portion of the work separate from residential collection. We circulated a draft of the RFP to the board in advance. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about the RFP? No, looks good. Yeah. Okay, we did consult again with our superintendent as well as our foreman to make sure that everything is up and we want to tweak the parks. A couple of things that the highway superintendent put in, we'll make sure all the dates are right. And then what is our next step with?
Actually, I have one question. They do not pick up the recycling at the booklet.
Right.
And
That will be another decision.
okay,
But,
I'm fine with that. But yes, I'd like to.
So the next step would be, at the board's meeting next week on the 25th to, authorize the going out to bid, and then, you know, we'll notice and publish and circulate the bid documents. And we'll probably put the bid date out about 3 weeks. I don't think we're anticipating a large number of responses. But, you know, we want to make sure that we have something in place for the beginning of the year. This is more a due diligence step than a necessity.
So just before we do go on, the vote is a not-for-profit.
Yes.
And it's in the village. And does the village pick up? Collect it? Okay. Does the village pick up from other not-for-profits? I don't know that much. So I think we have to find out a little bit more information about that. And right now, the vote pays for the right and the pickup.
Yes, we pay for the pickup.
Right. But I think we need to compare apples to apples to make sure that we're not doing something for a not-for-profit. We don't do it for.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be for the garbage at all, just the recycling. Okay, fine.
Either or. I'm
Either
just saying. I don't think it. You know, it's just
okay.
like we just want to make sure that we're consistent with what we
Absolutely.
do. Right?
I just have a question for Chrissy too, just,
And it's in the village.
during this point, is that like, if we want to go with a program that we want everybody to buy certain garbage cans, so the uniform throughout the town, for them, does it go into this bid, or would that be a total separate thing that the town would have to undertake?
You're talking about what?
Garbage recycle, the bins, say that we wanted to offer that they all have the same uniform bins, then maybe the hauler or the bidder might recommend to make it less expensive or something because they're all uniform. I've seen those programs being
You're saying
on
for residential
residential
bins?
pickups, they're
Yeah.
allowed to order, like they did with the recycle bins in the village, like the blue ones and all that stuff. If we were to go out and have these garbage bins that are all uniform, would that be have to go on this bid, or is that something the town is trying to take on its own?
I mean, theoretically, it would probably go on this bid. It depends on how, are we giving them to people?
No, they would have to purchase it. But if everybody's known, say, listen, if you want to keep the garbage at the same quantity, the same tonnage that you're picking up and everything like that, we give them the option to purchase in bulk from the town at a certain price at a discounted rate. And this way, it's will be all uniform, and the garbage outfit, whoever picks this up, will be a clean sweep right across. They'll be picking up the same way. Because as you notice, when people put their garbage out, it's all different kinds of receptacles.
Councilman Minichio, we do provide, sorry, I think I hear what you're saying. We do already provide recycling bins to anyone in the unincorporated town that requests them. So they just have to call the highway department and they will drop them off. I think what you're also referring to, I've heard more frequently with municipalities where the hauler is shifting to like automated pickups, not automated, where you don't have like a guy on the back of the truck, where it's actually it has to be compatible with the truck that the hauler is using. So I guess potentially that's something that, you know, our company may request at some point in time. They haven't as of yet. So that's what I'm most familiar with in that regard, but we could certainly ask the highway superintendent to look into it further.
That's what I was asking. Thank you for clarifying.
I do have a quick question. Is it the board's ultimate decision which hauler is chosen?
Ultimately, you have to go with the lowest responsible bidder.
Right, but I mean, is it the board's ultimate decision?
Well,
You have to go with the lowest responsible bidder.
Okay. All right, the reason why I'm asking, I just want to make sure that I don't have any kind of conflict because I'm on the Westchester County Solid Waste Commission Board as a member. And so
Well, you might have to recuse yourself.
yeah, I may
from
have to
the
recuse,
contract.
that's what I'm saying. I may have to recuse myself.
do they work with any specific contractor, or is it more just of a policy?
We
Practice.
decide which haulers get licenses or which haulers get fines.
Okay. So I guess we may have to wait and see what the bids come back
Yeah.
and look like and which contractor we're looking at, and then we can make that decision. But yes, ultimately it's lowest responsible bidder. And ultimately the board does approve that contract. So.
Yeah. All right, anything else on that? All good? Okay, great. So I think that's it for our lovely work session tonight. We have a motion to adjourn to an executive session for advice of counsel.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you all for joining us. We will see you next Tuesday, October 25th for a legislative session right back here at 16 Kroger Avenue and via Zoom. See you then.